Imagine a civilization as massive and advanced as ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. I mean, we're talking meticulously planned cities, bustling international trade, the whole shebang. Now, imagine it was just completely forgotten, lost to history for nearly 4,000 years. Well, that's not a movie plot. It's the real story of the Indus-Saraswati civilization, a lost world that was only rediscovered about a century ago.
For thousands of years, these stones were all that was left, just silent mounds in the landscape. What you're looking at is Dolavira, a once thriving metropolis. It's just incredible to think that for all that time, nobody knew that this city and hundreds of others like it were literally buried right under their feet.
So, that brings up a really good question. What takes a bunch of ruins like this and makes it a full-blown civilization? It's a pretty big word, right? And it turns out archaeologists actually have a specific checklist they use to make that call.
And it really boils down to complexity and organization. You need some form of government, you need planned cities, extensive trade networks, a system of writing, and of course the agriculture to support everybody. And the people of this civilization, who we often call the Harappans, well, they ticked every single one of those boxes.
And you know, this wasn't happening in a vacuum. Just look at the timing here. The Indus-Sarasvati civilization really gets going around 2600 BCE. That means they were right there alongside the great pyramid builders in Egypt and the powerful city-states of Mesopotamia. This was truly one of the world's first urban cultures.
So let's dive into our first section, Masters of Urban Planning. Because if there's one thing that just blows archaeologists away about the Harappans, it's how they built their cities.
I mean, just look at this. On the left, you've got the streets of Dolavira laid out in this perfect grid, kind of like a modern city block. And on the right, that's a sophisticated covered drainage system from a city called Lothal. Their focus on sanitation and water management was centuries ahead of its time. It's just genius. And this incredible planning wasn't just a one-off. Across their entire territory, city after city followed a similar blueprint. You had fortified walls, a raised upper town or citadel, probably for rulers and important public buildings, and then a larger, lower town for everybody else. They even mass-produced standardized bricks. The level of organization is just staggering to think about.
Now this might be the most famous structure they left behind. It's called the Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro. It is this immaculately constructed tank, about 12 by 7 meters, built with these perfectly laid bricks and sealed with natural tar to make it completely waterproof.
But what on earth was it for? A public swimming pool? Probably not. Especially since we know from excavations that most of the private houses in the city had their own individual bathrooms. So, was it a private bath for a king? Or maybe it was used for really important religious ceremonies? Honestly, without any written text we can read, we can only guess.
Okay, next up, daily life 4,500 years ago. So beyond the grand architecture, what was it actually like to live in one of these cities? I mean, what did people eat? What did they do all day?
Well, thanks to some amazing scientific analysis of ancient pottery, we have a surprisingly detailed menu. Their diet was super diverse. Grains like wheat and barley, lots of veggies and pulses, dairy products, and of course, meat and fish. But get this, they found residue of turmeric, ginger, and even bananas. And on top of all that, they were the first people in Eurasia to grow cotton for clothing.
So how did they feed these massive cities? With advanced agriculture, that's how. This cute little clay model shows they used the plow, which was a critical tool that allowed them to produce enough food to support a huge urban population. And it's the everyday objects, like this beautifully painted pot, that give us a real connection to their world. You can just imagine this sitting in a Harappan kitchen, filled with some of the very food we were just talking about. They clearly cared about making things that were both useful and beautiful.
And hey, it wasn't all work and no play. Archaeologists have found game boards like this one, along with dice and game pieces. It shows us a really human side to this ancient culture, that after a long day's work, they kicked back and had fun, just like we do.
All right, on to Section 3, Ancient Global Traders. The Harappans weren't just isolated in their cities. No way! Their influence spread for thousands of miles, making them major players in what was basically the ancient world's first global economy.
And this picture illustrates their ambition perfectly. This is the dockyard at the port city of Lothal. It's a massive, man-made basin, over 200 meters long. That's the length of 2 football fields. You can just picture ships loaded with goods setting sail from here for distant lands.
So what were they trading? Well, one of their most prized exports was carnelian beads.
These gorgeous reddish stones were expertly crafted and decorated, and they've been found as far away as modern-day Iran. That just shows you how far their trade network really reached.
So think about it. With all these goods being shipped all over the ancient world, how would a merchant in, say, Mesopotamia know that a shipment of cotton or beads was genuinely from the Indus Valley? How did they brand their products?
Well, they use these tiny, intricate stone seals. Thousands of them have been found. The idea is they were likely pressed into clay tags on bundles of goods, kind of like a label or a company logo. They have these amazing carvings of animals and, this is the really cool part, a script that is still one of history's great unsolved mysteries. We still can't read it.
And that leads us to our final section, a mysterious disappearance. So we have this incredible, thriving civilization that lasted for over 700 years. And then, poof, it just stopped. The great cities were abandoned. This is the final and maybe the greatest mystery of the Harappans.
For a long time, the most popular theory was that they were wiped out by invaders. But here's the thing. Archaeologists have found almost no evidence of a major war, very few weapons, no layers of ash and destruction you'd expect to see. The modern thinking points to a different culprit entirely. The evidence now suggests a massive climate shift made the region much, much drier, and at the very same time, the vital Sarasvati River, which supported hundreds of their towns and cities, just dried up.
And their story feels incredibly relevant today, doesn't it? It's really a stark reminder, as our source material puts it, of just how much we depend on climate and the environment for our well-being.
So, at the end of the day, without reliable water and farming, you just can't sustain big cities. The people had to abandon these great urban centers and scatter into smaller, rural villages. The civilization didn't totally vanish overnight, but its grand, urban chapter came to a close. And so we're left with these incredible artifacts, like this famous bronze figurine, nicknamed the Dancing Girl. I mean, look at her. She has this attitude and confidence that feels so modern, so timeless. The cities fell silent. The script was forgotten. But the culture and the technologies of the Harappans survived, and they were passed down to influence the next great phase of Indian civilization. So their world was lost, but maybe their legacy never truly disappeared at all.